Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's very hot, so we're all going to do this together. My name is Gary Perry. I am CEO and founder of TerpBae. We are Boston's first black-owned social equity cannabis brand. Our table is at C301. Please check us out when you get a chance. Why don't we all introduce ourselves, please, and let us know what you do.
Hi, my name's Laura. I am the marketing and sales manager for Morning Dew Cultivars in Orange, Mass. We are a really small, woman-owned micro garden. We have about 2,200 square feet of canopy. We do everything by hand. We really have a strong emphasis on quality and just trying to bring the best possible product to market that we can. We do everything the hard way. We really just do it so we can sleep at night knowing that what we produce is the best.
Amazing. My name is Christina Brooks. I am Director of Wholesale at Aruna Cannabis. We are an indoor plus the sun grow, about 6,000 square feet. We have a UV permissible roof, so we get the benefits of the sun, but we also have lighting because we know we live in New England and it's really hot today, but it gets really cold and very cloudy. So we also have our indoor lights. We have a beautiful crew. We're small but mighty, just making sure we're bringing sustainable cannabis, clean, remediated free to the state, and glad to be here today.
My name is Todd Dahn. I'm the chief debt holder for Cannalive Genetics. We're the state's smallest cultivator. We run 800 square feet, 400 square feet at a time, in which we harvest custom strains that I used to grow in the legacy market. We're just happy to be here and talk a lot. I used to do a lot of branding in the music industry, so we'll have a lot of things to chat about, ways people can build community.
Super dope. As you can see, some very distinguished people on the stage. I've got a question. As independent operators, what have been some of the challenges facing the industry in most recent years, and how have you best responded to them? Why don't we start off at the end?
Well, the most obvious answer to that is price compression, right? I think everyone has seen prices plummeting. You know, consumers are expecting $10 eighths, which we all know you can't produce an eighth for $10. So yeah, that's been a real challenge. The sheer number of just cannabis businesses in Massachusetts, the sheer number of dispensaries, there's just so much going on. I do think people sort of shut down a little bit, and they're not necessarily absorbing everything that's available to them, so it's a little bit hard to reach the consumers that you're sort of targeting at the end of the day. But yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. Started in the market about 5 years ago when there was a limit on how much you can buy. You were wholesaling at $25. Mm-hmm. People were paying on time.
Yes.
And now you're waiting 30, 60, 90 days trying to pick out who the best partners are. We know there's a price compression. It's oversaturated. I think one of the things that has worked with me throughout my career is really just because you may work for your own company or you may work for another company, you as a sales and marketing person are your own brand, right? So there has been times where I've sold not so good product. There's been times where I've sold amazing product and they've purchased because of the relationships I've built with them, right? Like, I want to know your story. Do you have kids? Like, did you come from the legacy market? That's really helped me, build a little bit more and not have to sell so much $10 eighths. It's hard. You have to be competitive in the market and have that option also. So I would say that what's really helped me in these different positions is making sure you stay relatable and making sure you're really building those bonds with the buyers where they're coming to you not only for a product, but because they know you're going to be there to support, be consistent, and help them with the sell-through.
I definitely think price compression is something that we all deal with. We deal with it a little differently because we do custom genetics. And we really don't worry about price as much as we worry about building community. Because if you build a community around your brand and you're able to service that community with things outside of cannabis that help their life, right? You're able to build support for a cannabis brand or any other brand, right? That then transcends normal, traditional issues that a lot of other people face, right?
Agree.
Another thing that I've seen in the industry when we talk about oversupply is companies that are just too big for the market. There's a lot of companies that started 5-6 years ago when the market was different and it made sense to have 30,000 square feet of canopy. But instead of adjusting their company to the market, They just started dumping product because they could afford to at the time, right? So price compression is a thing because of customers, but it started because as responsible business owners, we weren't adjusting to the market as more and more companies came online.
Next question. What strategies have you used to build a memorable brand and stand out from the competition?
That's a great one. I just think being as genuine as you possibly can with your own brand and knowing who you are, what you're trying to do. I mean, we're all trying to sell weed at the end of the day, but
Right.
also who are you? What's your story? Where do you come from? Who are you trying to get to buy from you? Like, who's going to benefit from that, you know? And I think really being genuine about it and maybe not just switching it up because, oh, you can make money here, or maybe you can make money there, or maybe if I appear this way, I can make money in this, you know, part of the market. Just be your genuine self and people will see that and they will receive it, and that's really your best bet.
Absolutely. And I feel like knowing your target market, I always ask people, okay, well, who are you targeting? And it just kills me with like everybody. Like, okay, well, not everybody smokes weed. You know, some people like indoors, some people like sun-grown. Like, it's depends on what people want. Once you know, like, the niche you're gonna live in, you can be authentic and really just be strategic with those people and be able to convert a sale. I think that that's really important, is like going out there with a plan, right? Like you said, everyone has a $10 and $12 eighth. They've got options everywhere. What's gonna make you different is really being authentic in the space that you're living in, as Todd always tells me.
Yeah, I think authenticity is key, right? And that's why we always talk about building community, because community is based around similar ideas, similar situations, similar viewpoints, right? So when you can find a way to build a community around a product that you're putting out on the marketplace, and then you understand the needs of that community, you can go to them and say, oh, you need a food drive. Your kids need coats for school. You know what I mean? You're able to service parts of that community that then build identity, right? To where when people remember you in good and bad times, they say, oh, that's right, I want to support this because we were able to do X, Y, and Z later, right? And that gives you the ability to really understand, so you don't have to worry so much about demographics, right? And it can be for everybody, right? One of the things that we do to really work with that is our grant program. Every one of our strains gives a grant to an artist or an organization in the Massachusetts market. That gives us the ability to have communities attached to everything that we do. They're all things that we authentically sit in. I was in the music industry for 30 years, so we work with artists that we know. Me and my ex-husband run the company, so we work in the gay community with nonprofits. But through those monthly stipends that we give these people, we're able to sit in those communities and bring them to dispensaries to support our product. So it's about finding ways to really find who your community is, because then you can sell to everybody. You don't need to worry about, does somebody want a vape or this or that. If they don't want your flower, they're going to tell their friend who does who you are because of the way that you sit in their life.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you all said. Just from like a competitive standpoint even, I try my best to not even see it as competition. I try to provide platforms that allow for everybody to come on board and have some brand friends. Like, we can do this all day, and we can do it from state to state, from platform to platform, and it becomes the hugest circle jerk that is going. And I think that without finding a way to engage the customers and make them feel like a part of this, then we're just going to continue to have a high school reunion that goes on and on and on, right? So trying to invite other brands that I don't see as much of in community to come out and do things. You know, we developed a skate party. We invite everybody to come out and be a part of that. We want, you know, folks to come and touch the community, touch the people. TerpBae, we put $1 from every pre-roll sale to a different housing projects in the community. $2 from every eighth goes to a different housing projects in the community. And then we partner with a nonprofit organization. Our sister organization is called Heal the Hood. We have a shop in Jamaica Plain that people can come get free clothes, free toiletries, non-perishable items, Monday through Friday.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then on Sundays, we do a month's worth of groceries to each household in the different housing projects. So finding ways to tap in with the community that are organic. You got people who are going to come in the space, and if they don't have your product, they're going to walk out, because they know that that product is a direct support of their community. They know that you are working directly in conjunction with them and you are of them. So I agree wholeheartedly with building community around your brand and seeing how that develops. How has your unique identity made you a better business person or cannabis operator in aspects of developing empathy or carving out a seat at the table?
Oh, that's great. So, you know, I started just kicking around with cannabis as a plant when I was 16 years old, and it was very illegal. I had my kids who are now 21 and 23, and every closet space I had was dedicated to growing, but it could not be known because it was so forbidden at that time. And watching the evolution of it has really been amazing. My background was really organic agriculture. I spent 15 years in that space, working with community, doing CSAs for low-income families, and just teaching people how to grow their own food, because food is money, right? And I needed something to fill about 2 months of time in between farming. And I was like, I'll go trim weed. So how hard can that be? I've been doing that my whole life, right? And then 2 months later, I was managing a large-scale MSO post-harvest department of 28 people. And I'm like, well, I'm just in too deep now. I guess this is what I'm doing.
This is where I live now.
This is it. Yeah, I can't get out now. And ended up working for another company, organic soil cultivation, for a few years. Managed a packaging department. Ended up at Morning Dew. The owner of Morning Dew said, I think you should do sales. I said, let's go. Why not? I haven't tried that yet. So kind of working through every different facet of cannabis has certainly shaped how I do my job now, and how I sell, and how I look at the product, and how I, approach the consumer and sales and dispensaries and the bud tenders, who are the real MVPs, by the way. You shout out all the bud tenders. You guys are the real salespeople. You guys are the rock stars. We couldn't do any of this without you, so thank you very much for what you do.
I have a slightly different story. I am Hispanic, grew up in a very Catholic home where if you smoked weed, you were gonna die. That's the education I got from my mother. Literally, don't do it, you're gonna die. So now when I'm in the market, I'm coming more with an educational background, right? I think that's why a lot of people purchase just based on TAC, because they don't understand. There's a lot of people who don't want to go to a dispensary because they think this is going to kill them. So, I'm approaching it more of like, okay, I come from a heavy health insurance background. I see how people buy medication, and then medication to combat the side effects of that medication. And I've seen now how people have used it recreationally, but also people who have ailments, Alzheimer's, they have PTSD and they're using it for those ailments. So I've really used my experience when it comes to, all right, well, now this is a plant, you're okay, it's natural, it comes from the ground. Now almost being in the field for 6 years is trying to educate, now different communities, right? Women out in the community, soccer moms with, 2, 3, 4, 5 children who maybe don't want to use a cocktail and want to have a little joint or vape discreetly while they're on the field or home. My beautiful Latino community, who got the same education that I did growing up, is to really show them now what the plant medicine can really do for them. So excited to be living in this space and sharing it, sharing the journey.
For me, it was a little different. I'm a lot older than most people here. So I started in the legacy market in 1986, and I grew up a gay kid in the 70s and 80s, which is a very different support system than what people had here. So living in the closet until I was 40, and really watching how other communities that I've engaged with through music and everything else have been impacted by things that have happened to them, have really played into why we do the things at Cannalive the way we do. We want to make sure that the intent leads before our profit, so that we always have an impact in what we're doing, because we know firsthand the deficiencies that so many people run into because their identity is whatever it happens to be. So for us, and for me importantly, us, I just say that because it's just me and my 6 voices, right? But it's really important that we have that intent, because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing any of this for? You know what I mean? So.
Absolutely.
That's an absolute fact. Same here. For so many reasons, like I started off selling weed on my porch. I was like 14. I wasn't like kingpinging it or anything, but I sold a lot of weed. And my mother would never take the money that I gave her. She refused it every time. And a lot of the supporters I have now know me since I was on the wrong side of right, and are just happy to see me figure something out in that capacity. Now it's legal. My mother is retired off the money, and she enjoys it very well.
Hell yeah.
So I totally get that. I also started off as a bud tender. So in nod to bud tenders, I really want folks to realize how important it is to be in that position. You exist as so many glitches inside the matrix. You have a catbird seat. You can learn anything that you need to learn and build your resume, build your skill set, your utility belt, and take that anywhere. I started off as a bud turn at a point where there were maybe 10 dispensaries, probably less. We were patient advocates. There was no Cannabis Control Commission. We were a Department of Public Health on our badge. And with that being said, we knew everybody, we knew everything. You could go somewhere and you get a job like that. There are over 300 dispensaries at this point, and so my strongest message to bud tender is please don't spend any more than 2 years behind that register. If you wouldn't let Foot Locker or Foot Action, any other retail do it to you, don't let Bright Light Cannabis business do it to you, because they will make job you if they can. Find something, find a niche for yourself, and get moving. My next question, how important is community engagement? We kind of spoke on community engagement and brand identity in that regard, so I want to kind of alter this question. I want to ask, how do you all check those things that you stand on so that they don't become a part of your ego?
That's a good one.
Why don't you start, Gary?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a very easy thing for me. I literally hide behind everything that I've done. Like my goal in any of this was to scale things up to the point where I could sell them, to either a larger business or go on and do something else with my life and time. So I tried my best to build things that don't smell or look too much like me, so that when it's time for me to step away, I don't become a mascot for it, nor am I tied to it and go do something else with my life. So it's been easy for me to kind of, be around, have been around a long time, and also just kind of back out of things and, employ a team full of fully capable women that have been killing it. When I started off in this space, there were very few people who looked like me, and for that matter, fewer women who look like me. And so, the pinnacle of what, the lady in cannabis looked like, didn't look like any of the women where I came from. And so at some point I realized that, good few women from where I come from would clean the scene up if we really organized and put some things together. And so that's who I've been working with. Tori over there has been my day one from the beginning, and I owe everything to her. Without her, there's no TerpBae, and so I appreciate the team that I have and the team that I built. And that's been a way to check my ego. They make fun of the way I fold clothes on the table. They check a lot of the things that I do, right? And so they've been my guidance, my North Star in keeping that in check.
Oh, it's my turn.
Oh, you're gonna go? You're gonna go? Yeah, mix it up. Let's go.
Did you put me on the seat?
Okay. I think it's really building up your team for succession, right? Everyone thinks cannabis, you see these events, oh, it's fun. It's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of times we're all short-staffed. I've been back of house trimming, I'm marketing, I'm selling, I'm at an event all within days. So it's building up, I've got my team there in the back. We got HR, we've got back of house, we've got marketing, we've got sales, everyone. We're a small but mighty team. I can't do things all by myself. So I think it's building yourself as a brand. So then when you got to go somewhere else, they know you as a brand, but they'll stay and continue to buy those wonderful products and support your friends that may still be working, at that place. And just building them up for succession, right? If I need to go out on leave or I'm sick or I want to go on vacation, I want my team to know what they're doing and me feel comfortable that I can just step away for a little bit and they're going to enter the order, they're going to pack it, everything's all set. So we just have to kind of lean on each other as a community. There's big corporations, small ones. I think you get a real, you start to become thankful when you're much smaller because you realize how much more work is into it. So I think, everyone kind of keeps each other in check, and, we're a very small but mighty team, and just building each other up for succession.
Facts, that's real.
I think this industry in general has a real problem with ego, or just across the board. A lot of it is some seriously unearned confidence. And I am just so grateful to work with such a small, tight-knit team where we don't have room for that. Our wins are all of our wins, our losses are all of our losses. There is no individual person responsible one way or the other. So It's a privilege to work in such a small environment like that, and that's not what everyone has, and it is something that we all need to be aware of. It's very easy to float away with your ego in this. You've got people gassing you up all the time. It's so easy to, get a little ahead of yourself, but if you're paying attention, this industry will humble you. Right when you think you kind of got it figured out and you got it going on and things are working out.
Yeah.
Nope, just kidding. And it will humble you if you pay attention. But it's all good lessons, and you just get better from there. That's it.
For me, I failed so much in my life that my ego kind of went away a while ago. You know what I mean? I've had some pretty successful failures, some very grandiose failures. You know what I mean? But also, I try to make sure that we build so much intent into everything that we do. And I keep coming back to that because it's something that helps me manage that within myself, right? Because it makes me remember that before I get paid, all these other things happen. So that really kind of keeps me in tune with everybody around me. And thankfully, I'm blessed with a bunch of friends who will just call me an asshole when I'm an asshole, right? So I have good checks and balances in my life. But for me, it really is leading with intent always, because that always makes sure that somebody else is ahead of me in the thought process for whatever that I'm doing.
That's a fact. I appreciate y'all. Back on community, how do you determine what the needs are of the communities that you serve when you go about handing out these needs? I, for one, started off with a company that might as well have been an MSO. We'll leave them nameless. But they determine needs from a very just kind of oh, maybe they could do this, maybe they could do that type of way, as opposed to tapping in with the community, and they failed every time. And it was sad to watch them throw all the money that they had at stuff that was never going to hit, just because they thought, oh, we're nice enough guys, this will work. And to the point where they had no money, and when they needed to do the right thing in desperation, they couldn't even afford it by that time. So I wonder, how do you figure out what those needs are that when you service communities?
I've done a lot of outreach. I started with Cure Leaf, and we did all of the donations for different places. And I think what's super important is to do the actual outreach and have lunches at local spots, speak to local people, and they will just give you the information. You don't need to tell them you're donating money or you're this and that. Have a very candid, transparent conversation about what your community needs. I live in Western Mass. There are places like Chicopee, Holyoke, Springfield, that are very in need, like you said, food. Food security is a big thing. So then, not only having those conversations and going online and researching, okay, now where does the donation go to? Is it separated? Do you need to qualify? Right? Because there's sometimes people, you had a job today, you don't have one tomorrow, then you go to apply for a food stamp or whatever it is, and you don't qualify based on what you have. So, myself, I found places where we can donate, diapers or wipes, and you don't need to have a qualification. They're you're struggling that day, you walk in, you get what you need for your family. So I think it's just like we've talked about, it's being super authentic, going to different places, meeting local people, and letting them tell you what the struggles that they face in their community, right? Because we're a small state, but like you said, 300 dispensaries. The price here in Northampton is super different from Boston. So the struggles in each community is different. Food insecurity, insecurities for women who need, sanitary things. There's all different parts. So just making sure you're having those candid conversations and then giving back.
So we're located in Western Mass, and generally speaking, Western Mass is pretty pro-cannabis. The area that we're in is not so much. So we have several other businesses that are right basically on the same street as us, all cannabis businesses. My goal for this year is to get us all to collaborate together and to pool our resources into something that benefits the community. I don't even need to change your mind about it, but we need to give back in some real ways. Beautifying the community, all of that is great. It's a little superficial, to be honest with you. I think we really need to get involved in some local politics, which I know no one really wants to do, but sitting in those meetings and hearing what the actual needs are and where we're struggling, and hearing from people directly whether they like cannabis or not, and seeing what we can sort of all get together and do is really one of my major goals for this year coming up for us.
I think for me it goes back to authenticity, right? You have to be a part of the community to understand what the community needs. You have a lot of people in this industry that open dispensaries in communities they are not from because they feel they can profit from it, and then they struggle because they don't understand how to work within that community. So they then drop prices because they look at that community and make a bunch of assumptions about the people that live there. So one thing that will always help is do business within the communities that you authentically sit in, because then you already know what they need. They're your friends, they're your neighbors, they're the people that you interact with every day. That's why we give grants within music, we give grants within LGBTQ organizations, and we give support to communities of color and to women, because those are the communities that we sit in authentically through myself and through the other people that we work with. So we come to the table understanding where the shortcomings in those communities are, and then we just build engagements, events, pop-ups, whatever it is, to give that support. Like one of the things we do with our Blazeberry pop-ups is we'll bring a makeup artist out to a dispensary, and we do makeovers on the spot. When we did that in Rooted In, we did 7 in 2 hours, including a trans woman who had never had professional makeup done before. So when you're in the community, you can have an impact without even trying, and then you walk away with social media traction and people going home and telling their friends and all these things that now authentically happen because you understood that community just wants to feel a certain type of way, right? And you gave that to them. So they walk away from you feeling better than they came to you in, because you know how to give them that, right? And then that identity is seated with them, and the next time they feel that way, they're gonna remember that you helped them, right? And then they're gonna remember whatever product it is that is associated with that.
And you gave them more of an experience versus a transaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how you're gonna build your brand.
And that's where identity seeding comes from, right? Like everybody can make a transaction happen, but if you look at any major company, you look at, let's take Pepsi for example, when they ran those horrendous like cops are good ads, right? But the identity that they were seeding resonated with the people that those were meant for. Kylie Jenner was in the commercial and young people and all that. So while the identity might not be for you, it worked within the community that they were pushing that towards, right? So then when people saw that, they joked about it with their friends or whatever, right? That's what keeps that in their mind. So you want to make sure that you're always giving somebody something that when they walk away from you, like it has nothing to do with cannabis, it has something that's going to touch their life in another way, because that brings them back when they need to come back.
Looking ahead, what will it take for independent businesses to survive and thrive in the next 5 years? We'll start with you.
Quality. That's it.
One word.
Quality, I'd say quality and support, right? Anyone can sell a $10 eighth, doesn't mean it's gonna sell off your shelf. So making sure you have the marketing support to sell that so you can get paid and get a reorder.
Yes, we're watching, a lot of places close down. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing the effects of people cutting corners and growing beyond their means too quickly and treating their employees poorly and not paying people properly. And it takes a little time for that to sort of come around, and we're seeing the full effects of that from the past 7 or 8 years now come to a head. So I'm excited to see. I believe Massachusetts has some of the most educated consumers of any state. I think people really care where the product comes from, what the company is about, how they treat their people, if they care about the community or not. I think those are all really important factors, and I think we're all about to have a moment. I think us independent folks are about to have a real moment.
Yeah. I definitely think quality and going deep with your partners versus breadth. Just picking the right people at the right time and supporting them and having them support you to make it through price compression, people not paying, is just really focusing on your core accounts and supporting them in any way they need to sell through so they can get paid, we can get paid, and they don't have 70 different brands and trying to focus. Because we know the turnover is really high in the state, so whatever they can do to kind of condense that, that's going to help people go through.
Quality is always a thing, and quality is so very subjective, because there's things that people recommend to me that I'm like, whoa. Right? Like, it's my favorite thing in the world. I'm happy for them for that, right?
You're like, good for you.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you. But at the end of the day, I think a better understanding of how to run a business is really needed in cannabis, which is what really lends to price compression, because there are a lot of people that thought cannabis was a great first business to get into. And like, weed sells itself. We're just going to open a store and print fucking money, right? And they gave no thought to compliance or any of the other issues that we actually face as a business in this industry. So I think as a community, if we can find a way to help each other understand how to run a better business, we won't have so many of these things where it's like, there's 3 dispensaries, like Holyoke, there's 6 dispensaries in 5 blocks, right? But and most of them run great businesses because they don't there isn't price compression to points I see in the other state, but there's so much better identity that everybody can put together, right? And there's so many other ways that we can make sure that there's value added to the shopping experience that makes people want to support. Because at the end of the day, there's very few people that can make money selling a $5 wholesale eighth. Because I know I fucking can't, right? And then you want me to pay people $25 and $30 an hour, which I'm for, but stores now have to pay me a number that makes sense for that. Because the money trickles up, it doesn't trickle down. You know what I mean? So we really, as a community, got to understand that we have to value ourselves better. We have to really understand the role that we play in the community and understand that we're not, everything doesn't have to be a discount liquor store, right? Like there's a lot of room for really well-run shops that can get a price that makes everybody happy, right? Like we don't need to go back to $60 eighths because that doesn't make any sense either. But there's a lot of room in that $25 to $35 price range that everybody can now run a good company.
I could not agree with that more. I think, in fact, trying to be the opposite of the Walmart of weed is its own space to be. And I see a lot of people doing it really well. And working together to lift each other up is so important. Like, I will be here to help any independent cannabis company, whatever they need. Like, pick up the phone,
give me a shout.
me.
I can help you come up with ideas for the community out there. Like, it's what we do. It's real easy to get in. And honestly, get involved in your local politics. That is something that is important. Massachusetts is not run like most states. Cities have a lot of power here, and it's very cheap to put some money behind a candidate to get somebody elected in the state. Most towns, you could get somebody elected for under 10 grand. It's not that hard because nobody wants to run. You know what I mean? A lot of these are part-time jobs, so get involved in local politics because that's what's going to change your zoning, and that's what's going to allow for a lot of these cities to be better because it's not fair that 3 people on the city council don't like weed, so now everybody has to be in a 6-block fucking radius because that doesn't help anybody either. So please get involved. We can't change all of this if we're just sitting on the sideline complaining and not actually doing anything to make it happen.
It takes a village. It
takes 100%.
A village.
And in this state, it takes a lot of villages. 300 and something of them.
Yep.
That's a fact.
Absolutely.
Also, just to speak on what you all were saying too, just like if you open a bank and that bank shuts down, it's not going to become a bakery. Big bank takes little bank, and that's been going on forever. So I feel like there's a lot of folks who stepped into this space, and did just the build out for whoever else is left to come. Quite frankly, and it's sad that a lot of them didn't realize what they were doing at that time. But a lot of folks from cultivation on down to retail just flat out did all the build out. There are dispensaries that are closed right now that are fully built, just waiting for someone to slap their name on it, and some of them just closed. You know what I mean? It's all there. I think the challenge for some folks as well is finding a niche in this. This industry is very young, and although it has the things that it needs to take step to step, it needs help. It needs the other things. I tend to look at this industry as a disassembled car. There are, these guys win awards for the best car part. You got the best tires, you got the best power steering fluid, you've got the best oil, but there's no car assembled. And I think the ancillary track and the ancillary businesses have an opportunity there to build the car. I'm living proof of this myself. I've always referred to my partners, and I've said to them that you guys have the greatest car parts. And there's no one playing Ricky Bobby, and for the matter of fact, I'll play Ricky Bobby for now. But I encourage folks who don't have licenses and who don't quite know what to do in this space to take a look around, see what gaps need filling, and you can start a business off of that. My first business was started in this industry because I worked for a huge company, and I sat there with countless meetings realizing that they didn't know what they were doing. And so if they could do this, you can do this. And so my last question is who do you think from the turning point, who do you think will stay in the game, who fizzles out, what aspects of the game stay, what aspects go?
I guess, like I said before, I think the more we start to see what brands are actually about underneath the superficial outside, the more people are going to make judgments on that. There's always going to be a space for people that can somehow sell that $10 eighth. There's always going to be a consumer for that. There's also always going to be a consumer that wants better than that and is willing to pay for it and is happy to pay for it. So I think both ends of the spectrum will stay there. How much and what amount remains to be seen. But I do think people with good bones and good hearts that work hard are probably going to be the ones that are here for the long haul.
Yeah. I think those companies that are now looking and making a strategy, right? Looking what your cost of goods are, making sure you have the right people in the right positions, right? Sometimes you hire someone and they're there for a long time and they weren't really a fit. Okay, maybe you'll be a better fit somewhere else, but making sure that you have the right people in the right positions to make sure that you're, all going at all horses at all times, and just being cognizant of like what you're spending your funds on, right? Everybody likes great swag, but you see a lot of people purchase things that they don't use, right? That's just a waste of money. So, even if you're buying things in smaller quantities, that's going to show your brand off in a way that people are going to wear them, and just being cognizant really of your spending and where you're putting your dollars. Like, this has been an amazing event. It's one that I like to sponsor because you do get a lot of buyers, you get a ton of bud tenders, so the return on investment is there. So it's now being more strategic where you're placing your dollars for the long term, the long term run.
I think it's going to be a couple of different things that survive. Vertically integrated companies are going to be the easiest to survive what's happening because you have cost control on your COGS all the way through your supply chain. And it's very easy to put money where it needs to be in employee badging, where it needs to be to make all of your COGS work for you, right? And actually almost run a normal company. But I think a lot of it too is going to be people's understanding of ingenuity, right? And what else can be in a dispensary. There's a lot of things that we can put in there that you could actually market legally that people just don't have. You know what I mean? Whether it's due to space or whether it's due to bandwidth. But there should be way more clothes. There should be way more things outside of cannabis that people can come in and get, especially varying on what your community is. Because that's something you can go out and market. I can run an ad on Facebook that I sell t-shirts in the dispensary all fucking day long. There's nothing you can do to stop it. As long as you don't mention weed, it's 100% legal. So people really have to get out of the box that we're just selling cannabis and understand that if you want to survive, like you have a retail store and you've got to make retail work in the community that you're in. Are you in a farm community? Sell some fucking farming tools. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean to be funny, right?
With it.
But yeah, but seriously, like get creative. Give people a reason to come in and be like, oh, let me grab a pre-roll here because I'm going to be out in the garden dealing with my roses. You know what I mean? And we talk about we want to normalize. Well, then let's normalize. Let's put other things in here that we know we can sell that isn't going to create any compliance issues that helps normalize the transaction. Because now somebody will come in and buy their garden hoe and their tomato steaks and all that other stuff and get 3 pre-rolls and an eighth and some edibles, and now they have all the supplies for gardening that they need, right? People can come in and support local t-shirt companies, find local artists, put their art up on the wall and sell it. You know what I mean? There's so many ways to make sure your community cares about you. You just have to engage with them and they'll tell you.
And it's going to add up that cart size that I know everyone is so struggling to get to.
Taxes are different, COGS are, like everything's different when you sell something outside of that, right? So there's a lot of ways to get creative. It's just everybody's in such a panic because businesses are struggling so hard that it's hard to think outside of that immediate moment of survival, right? And if we all were able to just give each other a little bit more support, you know what I mean? And everybody could take just the smallest breath, it's not really that difficult to look outside the window and see, oh, it's summertime, let's sell some or it's Christmas time, let's sell some ugly Christmas sweaters, right? Like, there's a whole variety of things that we can get and put in stores that makes it more fun to be in the store.
I agree wholeheartedly. And then even on that, from a merch perspective, like you talked about, developing a brand and even a fashion-forward brand that people would actually wear. For instance, like that free T-shirt that you got at that event that you're gonna go to sleep in, or just kick around in, versus something that you'd actually work into a fit. I think that's been a huge thing for us. Is we sell a ton of clothes off of our shop in states where they can't even find our weed. We're only available here, but they buy our merch in other states. Ways that I was completely shocked by. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we learned that in the music industry. Like, everybody has a t-shirt and a sweatshirt now. So we started selling satin bathrobes as smoking robes. We would sell beach towels. We would sell everything else other than that because you want to be in every different part of someone's life. If you can make it into a very intimate part of people's lives and give them support that they need in that moment, whether it's a towel or a piece of makeup or something that fixes that emotional moment for them, they're never going to forget who you are. We do a lot of work with artists, and we're going to start doing prints, because if I can put a picture in your home and you walk by me every single fucking day, you're never going to forget who I am. You're going to tell people, oh, look at this great print we bought from this artist. Oh, where'd you get it from? Da-da-da-da-da. So now there's 6 people that love us because we do these things, right? So it's just about being in front of people outside of cannabis and making sure that when you do that, you do it in a way that really works for them and doesn't make you look like an idiot at the same time.
Before we take any questions, can you all let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
We are at morningdew_mass on Instagram. We have a Facebook page. We are morningdewmass.com, our website. Get updates on all of that. If you come by our booth, we have samples of everything right now. We have the QR code that you can scan, so you don't have to remember any of that. Plus, we go back and forth between being shadow banned. So no promises that if you search us, you'll find us. We do have that QR code on everything. We have samples of everything on our current lineup, so please come by. We have candles, we have plants, we repurpose all our packaging from our staff samples, we have stickers, so yes, please come by. B109 is our booth.
Beautiful. We are Aruna Sungrown on Instagram, aruna.com. We are also at B208. We've got samples. If you like to make your own pre-roll, you can go ahead and grind some. If you want, we've also pre-packed. Yeah, we've got everybody there to meet you. We've got candy to keep you up because it's hot and everyone's sugar is going down. And we'd like to meet you.
Cannalive Genetics on Instagram. We don't have a website because somebody told me I couldn't run a business without one, and I'm petty, so I proved them wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know me. You know me. So, but our website will be coming this year. But you can find us right over at C10 something. Kyle's over there with our big digital fan. Honestly, I think it's C202. Yeah, we're right over there. We're in a bunch of stores around the state. And I'm Todd, Dahn on LinkedIn. I talk a lot of shit, so some of y'all might know me from there.
He talks a lot of shit.
I love it. It's fun to watch.
It's good shit, though. It's necessary shit.
It's honest shit, right? Like, but I talk a lot of shit.
It's true.
You can find us at
our panel. I love that for our panel right now.
You can find us at My TerpBae Official on Instagram. I agree that we don't need a website. We've been doing great without it, and it's just another bill. So check us out on My TerpBae Official on Instagram. Team TerpBae is our street team page. You'll find our gang at C301 over there. We've sold a ton of merch. If there's anything left, we'll probably give it away at this point. We've made enough. So thank you all. If anybody has any questions, love to hear from you.
Thank you all. Todd, you talked about getting involved in the city and town. Do you have any examples of how that's helped your business in particular?
So when we were looking, we're going to do social consumption when social consumption comes out, and Somerville is one of the towns that we're going to do it in. So my ex-husband and business partner used to work for the city of Chicago doing economic development and public safety for an alderman that was awarded about 70,000 people. So we helped a couple other aldermen get elected in the town of Chicago. So we brought that to Somerville, and we held 4 public meet and greets for the mayor who ended up winning, 3 meet and greets for our counselor in that ward, and then 2 counselors at large. So we did about 12 or 13 of them. Just had them come, just hang out in the driveway. People from the neighborhood came and talked to them. But it's a real easy way to give support. It's an easy lift. But now when we want to open social consumption later, I have several phone numbers of people I can call. I can knock on doors to make sure I understand what the regulation changes are. When we were in Holyoke, our grow is in Holyoke. We work very hard with the Economic Development Office to make sure that we're working in tandem with them. Our current councilman got arrested, so he's no longer a councilman. But we're helping them. We're helping the community try to find somebody that'll work within it, right, to make sure, because it's important that the council votes in your favor. Because there's a lot of towns that voted yes and the council doesn't want it, right? So it's constantly a battle, and like Newton and some of these other places to where the city gives you so much shit, it's almost not worth it, right? But if you can get a new selectman or you can get somebody else elected at times where they have those elections, you can change that. And really to run an efficient campaign out here is probably $7 to $10 grand, because the towns are so small, you only have to convince a handful of people to get you on the ballot. And there's enough issues in this state to stand out from other people that they don't have to campaign on the cannabis issue, right? They can campaign on other things and stand on that issue once they get into office.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Shout out to Jason, Flower Expo, and team. Appreciate you all. It's been a great time.
No doubt.